Now, one thing I do want to show you that can help you with debugging is what we call the show debug message. This is a GML or a game maker language function, and it is the only one you can use until after the midterm. Okay, so be aware you still are under that restriction not to use the game maker language for your games, except for this one. You may use this, and this is the show debug message. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to example 2, debug example 2, and it's just the way it was set up, so that if the boss's health is equal to 0, it's supposed to do all this. And as we know from the first time, the test only would do the destroy. So if you remember, and we'll take a quick look at it here, is that when you did hit the boss, you will notice that the boss didn't disappear, did he? Okay, and remember the reason for that is that since it wasn't equal to 0, this action didn't happen, but these 3 did. Okay, so if we were trying to track this down, one thing we could do is use the show debug message. Now to do that, we have to go to the control tab, and under here in the code section, we're going to use this first one which says execute code. And we're going to drag one right above the destroy instance, what's right after the if. Now this is your GML editing window. We'll go more into this later on in the course, but don't change any of the defaults. You want it checking this one is depressed. You want it checking for any syntax errors. And we're going to type show, and you'll see that it brings up all the functions that start with show. Now in this case, our very first one is show debug message. You can see it has parentheses. All your functions in game maker language have a parenthesis, open and close parentheses afterwards, and it has what we call a parameter inside, and str stands for string. So we have to put in some kind of string that it will display over to our debug window, which we'll take a look at here in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and double click that. You notice it puts the whole name there, so that's kind of nice for those of us who can't spell really well. And to put a string in there, we're just going to put a double quote, and you want to have this message mean something so you know which one it is. So this is going to be before destroy instance, and notice they always end with a semicolon. Okay, now if I didn't complete this right, notice over here on the left hand side it shows red. That's telling me that the syntax for this is not correct. Okay, now sometimes you don't need a semicolon, but it's always better to do that. Okay, it's a good habit to get into. So we're going to click this little green check. Now we have this one. Okay, we can actually copy this, and we're going to paste it right underneath. Open it up and just change it to after destroy instance, or you could just create a new one. So I've got one here. Now if we look at it, what's going to happen is we already know it's going to execute this only if it's equal to 0 and then do all this, but we're going to be able to see that. So let's go ahead and click on the red arrow again to run this in debug mode. Okay, so this would be good if we didn't have a clue what was going on, and we're going let me see what's actually happening. So if we go under the tools menu, you've got the show messages. This is where all the messages end up. So let me go ahead and get over here so I can whoops okay, so I can't play games, I just help you create them. There's the first one. Okay, and notice I didn't get the message for before destroy instance. I only got the one for after. That should tell you something. Okay, so that's telling me that it is checking for the equal to the boss's health to equal 0, and it's not doing that, but it's okay. That should give you a little clue now to go back in and figure out, okay, I needed the blocks. Okay, so again, remember this is the show debug message. Okay, and this is the only piece of game maker language that you may use until after the midterm. So please remember that. Okay, but this can help you if you're looking at your logic and you can't figure out why it's not doing something, or maybe it's doing too much. You can stick these in there. Just make sure you think through where you stick them, and you also think what you're going to put in here so that you can make sure that you know which one's showing up in case they all do. Okay, and the other thing you should always remember is once you're done, take them out. Okay, it just makes things more confusing, even though the player will never see it because you can only see it in debug mode. Okay, that was showing you how to use the show debug message GML function.